Is this new phone going to change photography? Let's find out. It's the OPPO Find N3, the sponsor of today's video. It's a truly amazing phone that uses Hasselblad technology in its camera. This phone has a 48 megapixel main camera lens. It's got a 64 megapixel telephoto for your portrait photos, and it has a 48 megapixel wide angle lens. So it's really one of the best phones you can use for all-purpose photography. For this video, we're going to be taking the OPPO Find N3 out into a bunch of different areas and seeing how it performs. First, for this video, for the first scene that we're shooting in, I'm out in Sedona. We're at this beautiful landscape. As you can see behind me, it just looks absolutely stunning. We're testing out nature photos, seeing how this performs. So we're going to use the main camera, the portrait camera, as well as the wide angle to see how it does. The OPPO Find N3 has some amazing camera specs, going as low as f1.7. It's also paired with Sony's new Lydia T808 sensor, which equivalates to some 1-inch sensors on other cameras that are currently available. With that being said, let's hop into the camera here and let's see how this thing really performs in different areas. This is what the OPPO Find N3's native in-camera app looks like. You have your 0.6, your 1x, 2x, 3x, and 6x zooms, everything that's available to you. There's also action mode, as well as you have all of these settings listed here. For this one, we're using 16:9 aspect ratio. You also have deeper settings too. There's grids and guidelines. I typically recommend having on grids. For this one, I just left it off. We're using a 1x zoom for this photo. I lower the camera down to get a lower perspective. Then I'm clicking on that mountain in the distance so that way it knows to lock the focus there. I drop the sundial down, simply take a photo and get this. For this next photo, we'll be using the folded position. Then when we have the folded position, we just have it using itself as a tripod. We're on a 0.6 zoom, as well as 16:9 aspect ratio. We've got a timer set for 10 seconds. I have this beautiful landscape set up here, and then I just click the photo, walk out into frame, so that way I have a nice photo of myself, kind of looking off in the distance, and as you'll see in a second here, looks like this. For this next photo, we're testing out the 3x photo zoom. I've got my buddy over here on this playground, got him on top of some of the playground equipment. I'm just clicking on him to hold the focus and the exposure, dropping the sundial down a little bit to manually control things a little bit more. Then I'm just adjusting what angle I'm taking the shot from. As you can see, the lower the angle that I end up taking the photo from, the better off the photo ends up being, as you can see right here. As you can tell, this phone does great with nature photography. So let's bring it to another scene to test out some of its other features too. For this shot, we'll be checking out how the Pro camera as well as the wide angle lens work in an urban setting. Along with the OPPO Find N3's amazing megapixels and super good sensor, it also has some really cool features with its wide angle and its Pro mode. It even has the largest ultra wide sensor on any foldable phone that's on the market right now. As well, it can take close-up macro shots as close as 4 centimeters for ultra image versatility. This phone has an ISO as high as 12,800, working perfect in low light conditions. It has a shutter speed as fast as 1/8,000th of a second, and it also goes as long as 30 seconds. So this phone even works perfect if you want to even go out and do some night photography. For this first photo in the urban setting, we have this cool water fountain here. In our settings, we're going over to our 16:9 aspect ratio, then going to Pro mode. We want to use a quick shutter speed to capture the moving water while it's staying still. So here I use 1/800. Then we want to turn our ISO off auto to allow more light in, then just setting up our scene and taking a photo. For this next photo, we're utilizing the 6x zoom. As you can see here, it has such a dramatic change from the 1x to the 6x zoom, letting you see buildings, objects, people, anything from a really far distance away. In this specific example, we're going to be using the building here. So I'm just clicking and holding on the building to lock focus, dropping down the sundial a little bit just to manually control my exposure. Then I'm kind of moving around, just trying to get a feel for the frame and end up taking a photo, get something like this. For this next photo here, I'm going to be utilizing the 16:9 aspect ratio. Want to make sure that's on. And we're using the 2x photo zoom. What I've done is I set my phone up in a spot to help create a natural frame that leads the eyes directly towards where I'm pointing there. And that is where I'm going to end up sitting in this photo. Also make sure to have a timer on for 10 seconds. Then simply just take a photo. I here am going out into frame, taking a seat right where I was there, and then making a nice little pose, end up with a cool little photo just like this. This is just another area the OPPO Find N3 just absolutely crushes in. I just have one more spot I want to try this phone out in. We're going to be testing out low lighting efficiency. We're in an area that has pretty low lighting. As you can see around me, everything's dark behind me. I've got one main light right over here. So we're going to be testing out this phone. We're going to test out the main camera, and we're going to also test out the portrait mode just to see how well it performs in low light situations. This phone here is truly something else. The telephoto lens on the Find N3 benefits from a 2.6 aperture. As well, it has an advanced OIS stabilization, allowing for some terrific photos. And this camera's photo features are all available from the folded position, allowing for spectacular photos, all while using the phone as its own tripod. There really is nothing quite like this phone available on the market. For the first scene here in low light, we have our tripod set up, and it has this cool feature where when you open up your portrait mode, it goes over the effects of what the Hasselblad does, similar to lenses they currently have for their digital and DSLR products. As you can see, they have the 1x, 2x, and 3x settings and what they mimic. After that, I switched over to 1x portrait mode. Then I'm just playing around with the depth of field a little bit, put my hand out in front, and then I play with the depth of field a little bit more, see exactly kind of what I'm looking for here. And it obviously is going to be a little bit variable depending upon the look you're going for. I went with F10 here, but play with it on your own accord depending upon what you're looking for. Now, I just click on my hand here. That way I'm locking the focus, dropping the sundial down a little bit there, making sure to click that lock so it stays in place. And then I go out into the photo here. I have a buddy behind camera who's taking the photo, and I end up with a photo that looks something like this. For this last photo here, I'm utilizing this cool sign for light. And as you can see, I'm kind of putting my hand next to it to kind of see how well the lighting works. Then changing my aspect ratio to 16:9, that way I get a nice wide angle photo, setting up the phone on my tripod there, and then once again, really just putting my hand out there, seeing exactly where I want to end up standing. I'm leaning up right against the glass, then I'm kind of looking off in the distance and I end up with something like this. The last thing I want to tell you about on this phone is the display. Not only do you get one screen, if you open it up here, you actually end up getting two screens. The front screen on this phone has a 20:9 aspect ratio and a 431 ppi, making an amazing experience for telling the color of your photos and going back and editing them. The inner display is amazing. It unfolds to 7.8 inches, making it very similar to a tablet, which gives you so much more room to edit your photos, making it stellar for your photo editing process. As well, it has a very comparable PPI of 426, making it amazing to look at your shadows, your highlights, and your midtones. As you've seen throughout this video, the OPPO Find N3 continues to crush out so much of the competition when it comes to mobile photography. Throughout the time of filming this video and taking a bunch of photos with this camera, we really saw how, in my opinion, I think the color of the photos just with this camera even ends up beating out the iPhone. So if you are interested in mobile photography, definitely go check this phone out. Make sure to go check out OPPO's social media pages. I linked them all down below in the description of this video. You can go shoot them a follow. And with that being said, that's all for the video. Make sure to like and comment down below what you thought and what type of photos you want to take with the OPPO Find N3. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.